I know one of the things I just to rewind a little bit back to because we did have the Jason Chan and Netflix, right? Which is always a great story when you're talking about cloud security and the I think in a lot of ways is the the benchmark of what excellent looks like. And so when you're back working with Jason at Netflix, he gave his perspective, which obviously as a, he grew obviously into a leadership role there, and you had your journey now into being a leader at Hashi. But when you're there, hands on keyboard, the front battling at the front lines, like what was that like at Netflix for you?
Yeah, it's truly amazing. One I would say, and I'll reiterate again. I truly think that my time at Netflix has granted me opportunities that I may not have had before. And I think Paul, we've had this conversation where even early in my career, I said I would never move to California. Like just being from Texas, I was like, I don't want that state tax. It just doesn't seem like a place I want to be. And then, in 2015, I'm on an airplane moving to California, taking a chance at a startup because a buddy of mine, gave me that opportunity. And then fast forward to, landing an opportunity at Netflix. Netflix was, I don't know. I assume there's still like that sought afterness of, at the time, everyone wanted to work in Netflix security. Everyone wanted to be a Google security. And when I build security orgs, that's kind of what I want everyone to work for me at HashiCorp or in wherever I end up next, whenever I decide to move on in the future. Um, but the nice thing about Netflix was, they were a super mature team, yet they still had a bunch of interesting problems to solve. And so I was really awarded with an opportunity to go deep in a lot of areas, which, you know, I really thank for having those opportunities because I think that's really what kind of put me in the cloud security space or let my
Mhm.
name be known by some people is, the work I was trying to do to detect credential compromise of EC2 instances before GuardDuty uh, did it, right? I think it was, it awarded me a chance to be accepted at Black Hat and present in front of like 2,600 people or something crazy. Um, we got to do a lot of deep digging on how can you protect the instance metadata service before AWS gave you that mechanism, right? And if you can go look, I manually made PRs to AWS SDKs to try to put hooks in place that we could leverage at Netflix as a mechanism to detect when SSRF was happening. Um, and so, it was only because of the place we were at Netflix from a maturity perspective that allowed me to dig deep and do some of this really awesome work. Um, and so I'll be forever grateful for that. Plus, the folks that I worked with, super sharp. Anyone that wanted that I worked with at Netflix, I'd love to work with them again. And it allowed me to create the network that I have today and know y'all, Paul and Jason. If you remember when I first met y'all, I saw Jason, Travis, and Tala all tweeting about Permiso, and I was like, "What is this thing? How did I not know about it? And how do I know? How do I become, or how do I get to know them?" And that's that. I think that's why we're here today, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were lucky, right? And I always tell the story when Jason Chan and I were snot-nosed red teamers, pen testers way back in the day, doing stuff for AOL, and that's how I got to know Jason Chan when we were at AtStake. And that, to your point, I think that was my original network, growing out of that, and the Netflix family tree is phenomenal. I know obviously, you and then we got to meet Dylan and then Jason Martin and I both were angel investors in TruffleSec, and then we both invested in Resourcely. And so I think that Netflix family is pretty remarkable. And to your point, you guys were doing things before there were actually real quote unquote, solutions or products, and you're out there pioneering things because the necessity of how fast you guys were moving. And that's the one thing Jason Chan always emphasized at Netflix was you can't impede the business, right? Like the business has to go as fast as it can. And your job was not to stop it, but was to help protect it, right? As it was going at light speed and innovating and obviously the evolution of that business